Okay, it's 6 o'clock. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. If you do roll call, Tobias.
Harsted,
Here.
Richardson,
Here.
Fire,
Here.
Shooty,
Here.
Hosby.
Here. Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And along that same note, I'd like to thank Lord for having a safe month for all of us, as far as I know, and all the people that teach our kids and watch over our kids at school or play, and our police force and our military force, and everybody that is either helping or doing a lot of volunteering and keeping us safe. Thank you. Is there a motion on the agenda?
I'd like to make it, oh,
I'm listening.
okay, I'd like to make it, I thought you were gonna say something. I'd like to make a change, the agenda. So I want to take, since I know there's people in the audience that want to discuss the draft ordinance of the chickens, I want to move that way up to the beginning before open comments. So we'll discuss it as a board, and then that will lead to open comments from the not be here until the very, very end. So, so I'll make a motion to amend the agenda to move item 11C to, I don't really want to call it, the 4-8.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Both same sign, motion carried on the agenda. Motion to approve last meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Both same sign, motion carried. And a motion to approve the financials.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Both same sign, motion carried. And the claims, if you all had a chance to look through them. When we do I just have one, when we do a refund, it says community center cancellation, do we still keep a flat fee because we reserved it for them?
If they let us know well in advance, we will give them the whole amount back. But if they let us know less than 2 weeks, we take half of it.
Okay.
So that they had their event in August, so it wasn't like very near. If it would have been, we would have been like, yes,
Okay.
Motion to approve the claims.
Second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carried. Now we're gonna,
No, we'll do consent calendar.
okay. Motion to approve, thanks.
Yep.
Never mind. Motion to approve the consent calendar items.
I just had a question. So the Dell Rapids, is that the same? There's no dollar amount on here, so is
yeah,
it?
and that's why it's on a consent calendar, because $10,000 was a request that they submitted last year, but they didn't submit an invoice. So they sent a letter requesting that it be dispersed.
Okay,
So just so
so it's the same
everyone-
amount then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Move to approve.
I'll second.
Any other
I
discussion?
got one other question on the street sweeping contract.
Yep.
Is that normal for us to have a place for them to dump that stuff?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's easy. I mean,
Yeah,
they've
It
been
is?
dumping it out at the,
at the lagoon
but
for
now
years.
we'll dump it at our lot. Makes good fill. Sand, and rock.
Or, I did not know that.
So, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
All right,
Pose same sign.
Who
Motion
seconded-
carried.
Who seconded that motion?
I did.
Okay. Yeah.
Now we'll move 11C up to open comments, right?
Yeah, and I don't know, since we have 3 people that are scheduled for open comments, I don't know if you want to do those first.
Oh, are they? Yeah, let's try
Yeah.
open comments. If you're here about the chickens, we'll
Well,
talk that after.
yeah, so.
Go
Right,
ahead.
what, so you want me to do it first?
Wasn't the motion to discuss this before open comment?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
you're right, you're right,
yeah.
I'm sorry, yep. My own motion, I didn't follow it, yep. Okay, so draft of ordinance 174. So we've been working on this for a while. So I will be completely honest, we took one of the most, I would say, fairly restrictive ordinances we could find in the area and made it a little bit even more restrictive. So I'm just going to highlight some few things. You guys have a copy, but main highlights are maximum of 6. And one of the main things we restricted, when we noticed and everybody else had these, they allowed, I mean, there was chickens and ducks and, I mean, they had all, it's solely chickens, no roosters. It's very specific to chickens only. It's license required, so you have to come in and get a permit into the office. You have to have consent from 75% of your surrounding property owners. They're within 30 feet.
Would they have to go get something signed and bring?
Yeah, when they get their permit, they have to have that with them. Yep. Like, they won't get the permit without it. They pay a one-time fee. I will say you pay that fee and it's only good for your property. So if you move somewhere else in Crooks, you have to start all over. Or if you sell your house, the person that moves into your house doesn't automatically get that. It's per person, per property. License can be revoked at any time for violation. And then it goes into a bunch of details about the shelter, what's required as far as space, where it must be located, setbacks, material. I'm trying to think of the main things that are
It's only allowed in single-family R1 districts.
R1 districts. Talks about, you can't be on any leased or rent, so if you're not the homeowner, you can't get them even with permission from the homeowner if you're leasing or renting. Talks about cleaning, food storage, enforcement, and then what I already mentioned, if the property changes, the license does not go with the property. It needs to be reapplied for by the new owners. So that's the main things. Anybody have questions on the board before we open it up to?
So can they have the chicken coop and an accessory shed too, or is that?
Yes, the chicken coop does not count as an accessory building. So if you already have a shed, you're still allowed to have a coop. It doesn't, you're not penalized for already having a shed.
So does the oversight of that fall on the city employees and enforcement?
Code enforcement, yep.
One of my questions, if you have them, why do you need 6? I know 4-H is one of the reasons to have them, but do they require?
6 was the most common number that from every other ordinance we copied. We just based it on everybody around us, basically.
Well, that was one of my things that maybe we should. I had, it's residential R1. Well, the people that asked for it are in general business, aren't they? Don't. So they couldn't have it
That'd be correct.
unless you put general business on there.
Correct.
And I know that if it passes, it's a first year. I'm not smart enough to know, but I'd like to just do it as a conditional use. Now, I don't know what that does, but
What does that do? What would be-
Conditional use does procedure, right? So you have a hearing. So that's how conditional use.
But a
is
hearing would
structured.
require them to do all of this.
Yeah, it'd just be an additional step. And then think about this way, if you do a conditional use after they already got permission from their neighbors, like, what, you're kind of doubling down in a sense, right? Because you're saying, well, the neighbors are okay, but let's have a hearing so other people can voice their objections. So what you're doing is, you're essentially creating an additional procedure, so to speak, because what if someone objects? Like right now, if someone objects during conditional use hearings, certain council would then have to note that and would have to deny in certain instances. So it's, I mean, either do it as a conditional use, outline it, and then just, avoid the whole, neighbors have to agree, or do this procedure here that's, outlined.
One and done.
You guys can always order the hearing either way, but.
So every time there's a conditional use, there's a public hearing.
Correct.
To pass this ordinance, we have basically two public hearings, a first reading, a second reading.
Yep.
And that's it. I guess if this would go, what I'm trying to get at is it's a first of a kind for us. Is there any way to do it on a trial year? Is that too much to ask for and to revisit it?
I think it would be incumbent upon the board to reevaluate it at a given time. I mean, if it's in past ordinance, we can change it anytime or remove it.
Anybody want to speak about it? That we're going to open up a discussion on this because that's what this is tonight, because we just had some things that are maybe could be changed.
I guess a couple of questions, just some stuff that you brought up is, okay, is it, obviously, Chelsea brought it up, she wanted to be here tonight, but she's homesick. For us to have it, we'd have to be able to have it essential business or something, be able to do it that way. The distance restrictions, you said it's 30 feet, now how, or
30.
30. So is that from the building to building or?
Property line. And not every, it says 75%. So one person, if you have 4 people and one person says no and the rest say yes, then you met your requirements.
When the reason, I know it's most of it's 4-H, but I imagine there could be people that want to do it for eggs. It's been a long time since I've been on the farm, but do those chickens necessarily have to be out during the day? Or, I mean, do
No, they
people
can stay
keep
in
their
the-
chickens in a coop? And
Yeah, I mean, when they do farming eggs, like that, they stay in that thing, they feed them, and then they have, when they have the egg factories, essentially, that's the way they are. They don't need to be outside necessarily.
Yeah, not necessarily free range, so that they're all over, they can be in their own area.
so, in other words, you'd have a coop and then like this says, a certain size run for them, or could you just have the coop and forget about having them outside?
Yeah, I mean, you could keep them inside. I mean, I know our intentions is we're gonna have a place inside that we can easily keep clean and don't have to worry about the weather or cats or anything else coming in and have anything, doing harm to them.
And as far as, I know we have pets, we have to have shots for them and come here to get a license. But I guess for chickens, is there any shots or veterinary stuff that they should have before they're allowed? Or?
Just depends on if they come down with anything. Most chickens are pretty resilient. Some might get mites and you test them with those. rose powder, you know, I mean, there's certain things that you learn over the years, but
So in the chicken world, there's no vaccine
not
things that,
necessarily.
uh,
I know you hear about bird flu and stuff like that. Those are things that, like when the kids take their chickens to 4-H or whatever, to state fair, they have to sometimes go test them for that, stuff like that, but it's not really common to give chickens vaccines unless there's something going on.
and I guess, we have 6 square, I think it's square feet per chicken for the building. Now, it doesn't count as your outbuilding or storage building, but what's to prevent somebody from building a 10 by 20 building for their chickens?
You could do that. I mean, it's the minimum, right? Minimum of 6 square feet. If you want to build a bigger coop, you could.
Well, it says that any structure must meet setbacks and applicable zoning code requirements. So
No.
you couldn't just go build a 20 by 30 shed and say, oh, this is my chicken coop, because that wouldn't meet the zoning requirements, code requirements. Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just trying to.
No, yeah, that's why that 3's in there. So it still has to meet zoning. The only thing is we were saying it doesn't have to be your one qualifying building, but it still has to meet our standard zoning requirements, which would not allow something that size to be built.
Honestly, I don't think there's gonna be a ton of people that are gonna go, I'm gonna go have chickens just because we can, because chickens, I mean, they're expensive to feed, to take, you know, just to get a few eggs that you can get at the store or whatever, or, I mean, there are farmers that are around here that do sell eggs and stuff. So, you know, like I said, mainly, we just would like to have it so Chelsea can be able to show chickens for 4-H. They're not even probably gonna be the big ones. We get the little bannies, so they're small, and that's what our main focus was for this. But
So if we're talking about that, should we be changing, chickens to these little ones if we have it, instead of any old chicken? I mean, not any old chicken, because you can't have roosters. But, I'm just throwing stuff out there.
Well, if somebody wants to get regular laying hens, just like the Bantams, they have the small eggs, but if they want to have 6 4-laying eggs or whatever like that, you know, a full-size laying hen or something like that, I don't see an issue with anything like that.
Anybody else, want to add anything to this conversation?
I have a issue with the $100 permit. What do we currently charge for cats and dogs
$250.
to be licensed now?
Yes. So actually, $100 is really cheap. It should be more.
It was $1 when I registered my dog, so.
No, if you're gonna have like a pet.
It's $250
Yeah.
for a letter permit, or you want more than $4 for cats.
Yeah, otherwise it's,
I like Bruce's idea of conditional use permit, because for dogs, if you have one or more dogs and you want to pet, you have to have a conditional use permit and come before council. As a neighbor, you can dispute it, but there's no footage involved, you know, how many feet away from the property. Just if I can jump in, again, if I'm supposed to enforce the 6, how are you gonna enforce it? Maybe get 8, 9, or 10 in there. Unless you can get in there to see and count,
Which
who's gonna know?
would be covered under this ordinance, reasonable access for the animal control officers,
I do
so.
like the fact that it's strictly residential. I think it should say residential.
It
Forgetting
does,
the
doesn't it?
weeds, going on to the other stuff. I just, like I said, I'm basing this on the ordinances we have for dogs and cats. Conditional use permit, it's $250. I think, yes, there's people that want chickens, but there's an awful lot that don't. So you have to make this palatable for those that don't by making it as strict as you can.
which
It's
is,
not fair to people that don't.
which I feel is what we did, because we literally took the strictest one we could find, like literally took the strictest and made it stricter.
You have to make it strict to be fair to people
Right.
that don't want this.
And that's what I think we did. I mean, I would say we did that. I mean, I had I couldn't find a town, I think Tobias found one town that didn't allow chickens. I'm not sure,
Speaking to the strictness of this ordinance,
Yeah.
besides the consent, if you look at point D, point 5, the applicant has no more than 2 zoning, nuisance, or other code violations, city ordinance in the preceding 12 months, nor is currently in violation of existing city ordinances. I mean, it's,
so if they've been in violation before or ever have been in the last one, they're gonna get denied right away. So,
yeah, I mean, this is a pretty like, tight ordinance.
And they have to be up to date as far as dog tags. Yeah, all the other animals in the house have to be tagged with the city of Crooks.
I have a question.
Yeah, it's all in here, isn't
We
it?
are not in favor of changing the ordinance. We prefer it was kept the way it was. I know there's quite a few people that probably can come tonight that are also in favor of that. But I know Jenny is the one who was doing inspections. So say there was a lot of, I see it's covered pretty good on that as far as cleanliness. I think it says upkeep. Is she allowed to go on people's property if there's an issue, just at random, or?
if somebody complains, she's allowed to check that out,
She can just.
right?
I would, for code enforcement, I do not go in somebody's yard, even if somebody complains. I don't have the right just to march into somebody's property.
What's the ruling on that?
It has to be seen from the street or neighboring property. I'm not gonna put the city in jeopardy by this one.
Well, I mean, that'll be part of the application, right? It's like where people explicitly acknowledge that I will grant access, right?
How is that any different than any other violation?
Well, the issue is the Fourth Amendment, right? I can't just walk onto someone's property and say, oh, I'm gonna check this out. Like that would be that's the concern.
But if we get a complaint, we reach out, we say with this complaint, and we can say we're gonna,
And that's where the application level would go concurrently with this is like explicitly out. There's almost a contract between like you chicken owner, potential chicken owner and city. And this is the concession I'm making for having those chickens. Like I will, grant reasonable access to the premises to inspect, coop, whatever.
And I think just basing it off the animal one, for dogs, if somebody has a litter of puppies or they want more than 4 animals, the Humane Society inspects the premise to make sure clean water, in this case, it would be the coops and so forth. My opinion, just based on what we already have, that should be inspected by maybe the Humane Society. Once we receive the application for having chickens. Like you said, there's people that want this to do, an awful lot that don't, and you have to make it palatable to the ones that don't.
I disagree with that.
well, I do too, because I feel like that's what we did.
Can I speak?
Yeah.
I do agree that there probably are quite a few people, but from what I've noticed in city government is if stuff's running the right way, nobody comes to the meetings. Because I've been here in meetings and there's been 3 people. This is the most people I've ever seen in a city council meeting since I've been able to come. So just saying there's more people that don't want it than do, it's unfactual. So,
I'm basing that like on the 90 signatures we got.
Oh, boy.
7 years. Granted,
it's 1,500
that was
people.
7 years ago.
Okay,
But I bet you 90 of those people.
comments need to be directed up here.
Well,
not
I would
each other.
say since this became on the public agenda, I've received 2 anti and a dozen or more for it. That's my facts, because that's what I've received. And the 2 anti were from the same house. So again, I'm not saying that I don't discount the fact that people don't want this, but when we are the only town I can find around here that can't seem to make this work, I have an issue with that. Because everybody else seem to make this work. I've talked to other towns, nobody has problems. If they have a problem, people lose their chickens. I guess I'm not understanding why the city of Crooks is so special that we just can't make this work. It's a very restrictive ordinance. And if you don't want if you see an issue in this, then people will lose it. I mean, I guess I just don't understand why this
Well,
can't
yeah,
be.
and we're not gonna decide tonight.
No, but I want to talk about tonight, because if there is something that people all do agree on that needs to be stricter or come off there, I want to do that. But I do feel like we are going about this the right way. We're not just throwing some loosey-goosey draft as, yeah, just have chickens and we'll take it from there and wait till people complain. I mean, we're making it a process, a very thorough process.
Is there any reason why something like this cannot be put to a vote, or does it require a petition?
Well,
I realize, and I agree with some people saying people don't show up, granted, but then I know a lot of people who don't even know there's a chicken issue, but yet when you ask them, they go, oh no, we don't want chicken. So I'm saying some people know, some people don't, and that's probably their own fault for not reading agendas. But
Well, and it's been on Facebook too, and again, it was only people who wanted it, but
it was brought up 2 months ago. This is the first meeting
Yeah.
to talk about it. We're taking our time. So if we do an ordinance, we'll touch it up, whatever, but then we'll have a first reading, and then the discussion then will be more towards yay or nay, although the first reading, we could, if we just change small things, we can still have a second reading. If we change a major thing in it, then we gotta go back. So there's gonna be time for the word to get out, on that, I think. I think we've not shoved it through, and Janice taken really a couple months here to, gather some information.
Sorry to interrupt, but no, so the reason why it's the $100 fee is because you're having more than 4 animals. Am I correct in that? I'm just
I guess
saying,
I don't know
if you only had
specifically.
If you only had 2 chickens, which, I mean, there's, for a lot of kids with 4-H and stuff, they only have a couple chickens. So that's what I'm asking is, okay, you're basing it on the 6 chickens, like she was saying, if you want to have more than 4 dogs, you have to get a permit to do that. So if you're only having 2 chickens,
Well, I want to require a permit regardless. What would be up for discussion is what's that dollar amount, right? And what's the minimum
because I mean,
chickens?
like I
Yeah.
said, for the 4-H kids, $100 is a lot of money for them. And for something that, when they take them up to the state fair and we sell them, we'll be lucky if you get $25 for selling whole chickens.
I think the comparison they're going is like, say, a litter of dogs could be 2, it could be 8. Either way, it's $250. So a dog, which I understand dogs are expensive, but $100 for 6 chickens is cheaper than.
I don't think the fee is necessarily comparable to the number of birds. It's a burden
Well,
upon.
that's why I was.
Yeah, irregardless of how many birds that you would have, it's an added burden to the city, therefore the application fee.
And you can always add more chickens, right? Like, it's a one-time fee, like to ensure that you have the coop and all of that in place. So let's say you start with 2, you want to add 4 more, there's no questions because, everything's been established.
Yeah, the permit allows you up to 6 chickens.
No,
No.
one time.
One time.
Yep.
Any other discussion on this?
You brought in the conditional use, would you have to file and pay for conditional use
Mhm.
as well, on top of the 100? You could potentially look at.
Well, if you had a conditional use, there wouldn't be
Well,
it's one or the other.
You'd still have to have guidelines, wouldn't you?
Well, that's what I'm saying, the conditional use would have all those exact same guidelines, but if you have a conditional use, it's because you don't have an ordinance. You know what I mean? Or you don't have this, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just asking to have the costs are laid out, so it's not a hidden, show up to city council and they go, well, we want you to file for conditional use. And now,
That would have to be,
it's hidden fees.
yeah. That'd be a whole separate, only if it was written that way.
I just have one last question. If there is an issue and neighbors or anything having, and it's not not meeting standards, or we're finding, or somebody's finding rats, mice, whatever are more common now in the area, then we contact Jenny, or if there's an issue, or other people who are having issues, isn't it? You see what I mean?
Yep. Yeah, you contact the
Contact
city.
the city. If there's a violation, then they lose their permit.
So I think, so far, what I'm gathering is for next meeting,
We'd have a first
we'll
reading.
have this ordinance, touch it up, if there's any. The one thing is the residential, central business. That would. Alan, do you have any thoughts?
Well, with the residential and with the, in the commercial, I mean, is that if somebody lives in the commercial building, is that still, that's still considered commercial? Or is that considered residential
It's
and
commercial.
commercial?
And the ordinances we've looked at, they only do single-family residential. If you want to include other zoning districts, you can.
Because I guess if the people here that are asking to do this, you guys are in commercial, right?
Central
Or
business.
central business?
Which allows them to live there too.
Yeah, so,
I mean, if that's still considered, then you can do it, or you can't. right?
yeah, where would that fall in line for them? They wouldn't be able to do it, right?
Not the way it's written.
Not the way it's written right now, because it's residential.
It's basically-
Well, I guess it would be,
In their specific instance, could they go conditional use then?
You would have to do variance.
It wouldn't be conditional use, yeah, it'd be a
Because the
variance, not a
variance
conditional
is
use.
like where you're allowing a non-ordinance.
I got you.
Yeah, it's
so,
different.
I
It's
mean-
just a different process.
So they could apply for a variance.
Yeah,
if
you,
this passes.
yeah. That's, like I was saying, that's a
so
privilege.
they
yes.
could, so if we pass an ordinance, before they would come to get their license, they would have to ask for a variance? Is that what you're saying?
So, yeah, and you would have to put that provision in there though, in that ordinance, right? Like you can't just say, oh, anyone can show up for a variance, because right now, as it's written also, there is no variance that allows for this. Like that's why this discussion is good, because a lot of refinement will have to go in there. If you want to have a variance category in there, you have to outline the procedure and then say, this is what it would take for a variance. And here are the check marks, so to speak, as we have. And that's not hard. You just have to
It'd
make
be no
sure.
different like we do for like buildings. So
Yeah,
like when
you
people
just-
come in variance because they can't quite meet that setback for whatever reason.
Exactly, and that's, as a council, that's your privilege, right, to say, okay, we will grant this variance. And you can always attach like stipulations to variance, as you guys have done before with variance and then conditional uses. The key part is you have it outlined in the ordinance and the procedure, and not just like, for lack of better terms, like willy-nilly come up, okay, today we're doing it this way, tomorrow we're doing it that. So if you're saying, hey, variance will be considered on whatever basis, here's the form, fill it out, and then it goes to a hearing. But then you also have that additional layer with a variance, right? You have the public hearing, and you have then also, if there are any disputes, any neighbors showing up saying, hey, I'm opposed to this, or however it goes, that is then something else, so to consider as well. I mean,
But the thing with the variance is you're not gonna, it's a lot more restrictive as far as you shouldn't have the number of variances like you would a conditional use permit. Versus pulling a permit every single time, or a public hearing, conditional use, every single time somebody wants chickens, versus you're only hearing it for those one-offs where people don't quite meet but they want to be considered.
yeah, so.
So that's the difference.
Whatever direction you give, I'll write the ordinance and circulate the draft, and also we'll have to circulate the draft to the public as well. You guys provide direction, right? Because that's like, I modeled this based off Del Rapids, this based on, what I was instructed, hey, base it off this and write it in a way where there was a balance struck, right? Where it was, what would be fair, right? I mean, essentially making sure that you have something in place that is not loosey-goosey and not so restrictive where you're writing an ordinance that essentially prevents you from doing that too.
Okay.
So-
So it'd be fair enough to rewrite the ordinance, to some of the things we've talked about, or one of the things. And then we get a copy to look at, but can we get that out?
But we'll be on the website. The
Okay.
moment I provide it to a majority of council members, it has to be publicly provided.
My other concern is the oversight of this. So say somebody's in violation, does Jenny then contact the Humane Society?
Well-
Because that's what we do with animal control, right?
What?
So you would have to bring Humane Society in, or the Sheriff's Department, and do they charge the city for?
The Sheriff's Department now has the authority to issue citations, and they started doing it. So you could just add a 1-1 to what they charge. And a lot more forceful than right here. You know, somebody's doors, so I mean, either way.
So,
Once we get notification of the Humane Society or the deputy is in town, they have the authority to cite somebody.
and then, I mean, if they get loose, is that your responsibility to
Well,
catch
it
them,
should be
or
if
how?
they're running somebody's yard, should be running at large like it would be.
Yeah.
They fall under the animals at large.
Animals
Yep.
at large?
Should be $100, just like it would be for dogs.
Okay.
And I think that's, well, that would just be, I mean, it's animal, they could follow under the animals at large ordinance. That's its own separate ordinance.
The other fall under the
Yeah.
resolution for all fines.
So it'd be the exact same fines.
Okay, well, we'll wrap that up and, go to open comments. I think Stephanie Bentz is here from the library. Hi.
Thank you for letting me address you tonight. I submitted an annual report, and I think it's in your packet. I won't go through it in detail, but I wanted to make sure to visit you beginning today annually to tell you what's going on at the library. Our number of visitors has held steady these past few years, but our numbers of circulation has decreased. And we think it's due to the popularity of streaming videos, in addition to what a harsh winter we had last year and the closures that it entailed. We are responsive to the needs of the community that we have for children. We know that by offering regular visits to the library, parents can help prepare kids for kindergarten and prepare them to learn how to read. And so we would like to start a weekly story time beginning this spring after we have hired new staff. And then in addition, we are having engineers come and do a program with kids this spring. We're doing a puppet show for children. And then this summer, we will offer a summer reading program again with weekly programs. We are having a kickoff party June 1st, which I also know is the date of the Kurtz Community Town
Communities,
Festival.
yep.
We would like to work with the Kurtz area, working together to promote the kickoff party and bring in a big event where, to draw people to the library and still not detract, but add to the community program too. I don't know that I have much more unless you have any questions. I don't really need anything from you at this point, except that if you hear comments from the community, good or bad, or how we can improve the library, we would love to hear them, and we want to be as responsive as possible to our community and make sure that we're serving the residents wisely. We really appreciate that Kurtz works with Siouxland Libraries to offer library service to the area.
So, would you just want to coordinate?
Yeah, I think you've been in contact with COT already, or some, I don't know if it's Kim or Megan, or who you've been talking to. Yeah,
And I've been waiting to respond because I
Yeah.
wanted to know exactly what we were offering and
Yep.
then see what we could bring in for big entertainment.
yep, because I think we talked about bookmobile or doing some different things, having the bookmobile park somewhere at the park while the kids are, I know there's lots of ideas on the table, and so I don't know.
Well, they see the bookmobile at school, so
Okay.
Deal for them.
Okay, so anything, yeah, but I think somebody's already reached out to you from COT, yep. So we will definitely be working on that, so.
Is there anything more you can do at this point?
Oh, thank you, appreciate it.
Yeah, I've been seeing your Facebook posts of your events and stuff, and so, yeah, I think probably encourage people to see those, share those, and get the word out, so.
Thank you.
I'll be in for coffee
Oh, have you?
on Tuesdays.
Tuesday, coffee and cards. We want to offer a gathering place for people to socialize too.
Okay,
You're all invited.
is there a time on that?
9:30.
9:30?
Where'd
Probably there, I
Oh.
just didn't see it.
If you'll come here, I'll throw in donuts.
Yeah, well, we appreciate what you do. I think, there's a lot of adults use it.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
We see all ages.
Yeah,
And you have a nice path there now, too.
yeah,
Path or something,
hopefully that'll
help.
get more people up there.
Yes, we sure hope so.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And, next, critters.
1, 2, 3, not it.
Yeah.
We were wondering if we could borrow the city building for beanbag tournament,
The annual.
like we've done in the past, just with the different owners.
So, yeah, I think in the past, we just had a waiver signed, right?
Uh,
And
Yep. Just
Yeah,
a
I think
waiver.
that Tobias probably has the form, or they need to turn in an insurance form also. And then sign a waiver of,
Do we have to list you guys as, insured? Is that how you like it?
Yep.
Okay, I'll talk to Seth about that and get it to you right away. If you guys will let us do that.
yeah, so that's what we've always done, so I don't
Yeah, I don't see
see
a
that
problem
we
with it.
can't not do it.
We were also wondering, about bringing back a street dance possibly during the community days of Crooks.
I know that was, brought up last year, and I don't think, I think everybody kind of thought it might take away or interfere. I'm not on the committee, but to me, I thought if we ever have that or start doing that, I know we've got to have, whoever does it, in my mind, hire, deputies for security. I don't think we can let them,
Which we have
I mean,
access to,
or,
but we also want permission and want.
yeah, one of the problems we've had on earlier, when the Thursday night thunder started, people couldn't get to their houses because the intersection was blocked. Then we painted,
Those
a
lines.
fire lane through there, so nothing could get parked there. But I guess if you're thinking about doing that,
It would be the same time as the parade, so the road would be closed anyways, It would just be at the night, and we could put it at my location too, so it wouldn't block where people live. It would just be a 1 year.
then it would, yeah, that would be an off-site, wouldn't it? Liquor license.
Still be a special event liquor license.
Yeah.
you're saying it move it further east down
If
Main,
needed,
to avoid blocking any residential streets.
because when we bought Critters, we did have a big party, but we knocked on all the doors around us, telling them what we were gonna do, and that we're shutting down at 10:30, 11, but.
Because I think that was one of the major concerns, it was just not blocking
For sure.
Yep.
access to anybody's house
And
for
I
an
don't think we'll
emergency.
be doing Thursday night thunder anymore.
Which if we do, it might be once a month. And we really, even if you block the street, you're only blocking really not any residents. There's one on that street that's right on the street, as far as the driveway.
Yeah,
So on the street dance, do we want them to come back with a plan on this rather than say, okay to whatever you just said? I mean, do we
Yeah, I think
want some
there would have to be
definition?
a plan, and then would we need a public hearing?
liquor license, you could just do it at
Okay.
the same time.
Yeah, so let's see a plan, and then,
So they would need to come back next meeting, March, with a plan.
However you guys want it done, right? The latest would be meeting for the public hearing for the liquor license. So anything,
You just need the liquor license if it's off-site.
Right.
You have to get a special event.
yeah, and you have to,
We write
and you have to describe the location, like.
So it's like,
Connected to the premises, your
Yeah.
liquor license right now, so I assume you wanna sell in front of Critters, I mean, and that was the same issue last year, it's like you would have to identify where you wanna sell, and that's the only area you can sell to.
Yep.
And that's right with the street dances, like all their towns, they have like whole plan, whole map drawn out, like this is where people sell, because when you do have, because I assume the goal is to permit people to indulge in beverages off the designated area.
It's mostly about
On the
street
street.
ends back for us, and it's our 15-year reunion for high school, but. And we would be joining with the other bar too if they wanted to. It's not really about making money. It's more about bringing
Bring the community together.
That's why we're doing it, trying to do it with the Christmas days, but.
Well, I'm just worried about procedure. That's the only thing I'm worried about.
I think if you get your plan, you know, maybe draw it on paper how you're
Try
gonna
another,
set it.
give you two options, give you the Kirk days and then maybe a 4th of July batch or
Okay.
something else.
Or even like on our property and in front of Critters too, like make it a multiple plans and see which one works best for everyone.
Sure.
Just something that we can, you know, go
See on
by
paper.
and say this is it. And then, you know, same for security, how you're gonna
For sure.
handle that.
Security have to be like the sheriff's. Like last year, we was trying to plan it, we had hired Brian's Club for security. You have to do security and make sure that, you know, nobody was getting into those underage, the wristbands, the whatever, you know. So I didn't know if that was acceptable or not.
I guess I don't know what the sheriff,
What are
they would
your
even
thoughts on
offer security. I don't know how that works.
It would be about like the Colton Street dance, if you've ever been there.
Yeah.
We'll drop the plane.
I think just include that in your plan, what your plan was for security and.
Okay. Thank you.
Friday or Saturday?
Well, the first is what, right?
Probably after the parade, wherever it is, the parade lands on.
The parade is
Saturday
Saturday.
morning.
It'll be Saturday.
Saturday, the parade's done by 12:30.
Yeah. 12.
So you would do it,
And it would be in the late afternoon,
Right.
but we'd try to make it the same day. If it works better. But if it doesn't, it could be Friday, it could be July 4th, like you said.
The only reason I'm asking, because I'm putting my other hat on for COT, so, because we've already booked a band for the park on Saturday.
Okay.
Now, that doesn't mean that that band could move, but it also doesn't mean we could do something like Friday
Yeah.
downtown, Saturday in the park, or whatever, you know what I mean?
We can
So
work together on it, is
yeah.
what I'm saying.
that's the only reason I was asking.
And then, the noise ordinance, because I know it's 11, is that correct for noise?
Yeah.
I didn't hear the question.
The noise ordinance, it's been a long time since I've looked at that.
I think it's 11 o'clock, and so, what we was gonna request last time when we brought this up was, possibly moving it to midnight if we could. If we can't, then we just gotta start the band a little earlier, quit earlier. Just for the one day, have it go to midnight.
So would that require
A variance.
a variance? Yeah, I was gonna say that's a variance, but I would just put that as part of your plan, because then whatever we agree to, then we'll just say, yep, we agree to that, submit your variance, you know what I mean? So just make that all part of your plan, and then we'll just,
Okay, is Bob Peterson here?
No.
No.
The Ducks Unlimited folks have asked that they get the hall the day prior to their event, the banquet.
What day is the banquet on?
It's on the 2nd, and I remember last year you guys granted them a waiver and said you only have to pay the damage deposit a month in advance. So they came back and said, hey, they'd like to haul the night before April 1st, if they could do setup. Now, I don't see a problem with this.
Is there any conflicts?
no.
Pardon?
There's no conflicts for that day, right?
No, we made sure, the only thing that we unfortunately had to cancel is Parks Board meeting. So, no.
I guess I don't have an issue if they want to set
Yeah.
up the night before.
I don't
and
either.
Yeah.
Don't feel it's hurting anything.
I just want to bring it up.
Who, you,
Yeah.
we've already discussed I'm assuming you're here for,
Chickens.
yeah, we already discussed it, but you can.
We're still
add
in
your
open
piece.
comments.
We moved it to the beginning, so we're still in open comments. So if you want to say your piece, you can go.
Name for the record.
Yeah, name for the record.
Jacob Mars, 500 South Nicole. I'm here in support of the chickens. The only comment that I had was just the permit fee of $100. I've always thought the permit fee should cover whatever effort goes into the act of completing the permit, so if that's a sufficient amount, I'm cool with it, but it seems a bit high because there's an inspection of the property that goes along with the permit.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, I don't know what's all going to be inspected, how long it's gonna take, how long the permitting process is gonna take, but $100.
That's a good question. Is that written in that's part of the permit
Yeah, we
process?
do. You have to
Okay.
have all the assurances, and then also we have to keep that permit until it ceases to exist. We have a lot of records.
So that is part of the permit is the inspection of, okay.
The other question I have is, it's not implicitly clear. If ownership of property changes, license to keep fowl shall expire.
Yep.
If you're being persnickety about it, that could be an adjacent property owner that gave permission to allow chickens. And then the new property owner that moved in adjacent says they don't want chickens. It doesn't explicitly say that it's the owner construed as.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
adjacent property.
Yeah. You got Tobias on that one. But we can make that
I thought you
explicit.
could infer it from the thing.
Yeah. We can make it explicit, but yeah, it's the
So
ownership.
If you want to assume, I'll leave that.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Thanks, Jacob. Okay, no public hearings. Utility report?